homes, and that's down 2.4% compared to June of last year. And the average sold price has also gone down by almost 5.5%.
Uh,
Um,
Scott, I would suggest you just maybe rewind a little bit. I want this meeting being recorded.
okay.
Sorry. Yeah, just rewind a little bit about the market
Yeah,
report is
okay.
about. Okay.
So we'll just start over quickly. So, good morning, everyone. Today we are talking about the GTA market update. So, the June 2025 Market Watch report just got released. And so, today's meeting, we want to go through some of the data because it is very important. It's very insightful for all of your businesses. And I also wanted to leave some time at the end to share some of my personal insights and also to ask our agents, what insights you can share with each other. Because as I said earlier, it's not an easy market to work in, but there are definitely transactions still happening, whether you're listing, you have buyer clients, or you're doing leasing. And we also have a lot of agents doing commercial deals. So I think the key here is about how to find your advantage in today's market, how to really sharpen your pencils and and get the business happening. So from an overall perspective, the June 2025 data, I think overall it is very positive. So as I was saying earlier, the affordability continues to improve. So in terms of the sold price, it's definitely come down from before. So you see here, the average sold price is 1.1 million across the GTA, and that's down 5.4% compared to June of 2024. So year over year, we see, the prices come down. Total sales has also come down. Total sales right now is 6,243, which is down 2.4% compared to last June of last year. And, the trend is really applicable across property types. So detached is down 3%. Semi-detached, the decrease is not as much. 601 sales of semi-detached, and the decrease is 0.7%. So semi-detached is actually quite resilient in today's market. Townhouses down 4% for total sales, and condos obviously down 2.5%. Especially in Toronto or downtown Toronto, condos have been challenging to sell because it's a lot of different factors which I will talk about, but there's a lot of listings on the market, which is definitely affecting the price because today's buyers have so many units they can pick and choose from. I think many buyers are taking more time to study the market to really find the quote unquote perfect deal for themselves. And buyers also are having to qualify for mortgages. I think the rate decreases have definitely helped affordability. And it looks like or sounds like there may be one or two more rate decreases by the end of this year or by the end of or by early next year. So the interest rates, if it comes down again, another, one or two announcements that will definitely help the markets and bring more consumer confidence. I think the confidence right now is not really there, not what it was, year or 2 years ago. The other factor affecting the market instability is the all the stuff happening with the US. So a lot of news, about what the US wants to do in terms of trade and trade wars and trade agreements, and not just with Canada, right? US has a lot of relationships with other countries, and so that is definitely impacting the market. There's a lot of economic uncertainty. There's many industries within Canada that are being affected by the trade. So, steel, aluminum, export imports, the auto industry. Even your groceries. You probably have noticed grocery prices have not gone down, they continue to go up. So a lot of industries are being challenged, and so that's leading to a lot of economic uncertainty and therefore not as much consumer confidence. So all of these things tie into the housing market. I'm hopeful this year we'll definitely have hopefully two more rate announcements, and I'm hopeful for a good fall market that will spring back and provide us with more opportunities. I wanted to touch on here. You can see that new listings last month has gone up to almost 20,000 properties across the GTA, which is up 7.7%. So that's very telling, I think, of the market we are in. There's lots of listings. I think there's lots of sellers who maybe, their mortgage has come up for renewal and they either cannot refinance or don't want to pay such a high interest rate, right? Possibly they got a good mortgage a couple of years ago and now they're coming up for renewal. So they're saying, look, it's better. Let's test the waters and put the house on the market and see what price we can get. There may be other people who are downsizing or moving, to different parts of the GTA or elsewhere. So all those things factor into why we are seeing so many new listings coming to the market. And you can also see here the average day on market is 26 days, which is an increase of 30% compared to last year. So that's quite a significant statistic. I think depending on the neighborhood you're listing your property in, you may be seeing 30 to 40 days on the market. At the bottom here, you see year-over-year summary. The average property days on market is 42 days for this year compared to last year of only 30 days. Just to explain for everyone, you'll see it's called LDOM and PDOM. So LDOM stands for listing days on market, which is the number of days the specific listing has been on the market. PDOM is property days on market. So the number of days this property has been on the market. So, a property may be relisted multiple times, right? So that's what the PDOM captures. So you can see here, like, a listing may have sold after 26 days. Property itself may have been, relisted, price reduced, new listings uploaded. And so the actual total number of days it took to sell the property is 42 days on average. So moving ahead, I don't know if this is showing up properly. No. Okay, we'll just skip that. But I think this is a good table, of the main market indicators for all of the major areas covered by TREB. So we see here Halton, Peel, Toronto, York Region, Durham, Dufferin, and Simcoe County. Couple of highlights for everyone. So you see here, obviously Toronto is the biggest city in the GTA. So hence why it has a total largest number of sales at 2,319 for last month. I think average price and median price are interesting to call out for York Region. So in York, the average selling price is almost 1.25 million. And another interesting thing is there are so many listings, especially in Toronto. You're seeing active listings of 11,736 properties. And what's also interesting, I think, is in Durham region, the average sold price to list price is 100%, right? So some of the other markets, you're seeing 98, 97%, but in Durham, it's 100. So I think what that tells you is the list price. The list price is very important if you want to get a house sold. So before, you may have been able to list a property for much price or the selling price. In today's market, you were seeing not so many multiple bids, and what we're seeing more is the list price has to be realistic and it has to reflect today's market conditions and also reflect the sold price in the area. So, you know, if you put a very, very high price, you might not get any showings, you might not get any offers. If you're willing to lower the price, that will definitely increase your chances of getting it sold. Durham also has the lowest average day on market across the other regions in the GTA. So I think that shows you the rapid growth we're seeing in Durham region. So Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, and Oshawa. There's lots of older homes, but there's lots of newer homes as well. So lots of projects that have completed or are in the process of completing. And so, lots of people want to move to Durham region because you're still close to the GTA. It's easily accessible by the 407 or 401. And you may be getting, slightly newer product in terms of townhouses or detached, even condos. So it is quite positive for Durham and the GTA. Moving on, this is a more focus on York region, specific cities within York region. So you see here, King City obviously has the highest average sold price. So there's a lot of estate homes, larger lots in King City. Markham, Newmarket, Richmond Hill, Vaughan, Stouffville. You see here the average price is pretty, stable. And in terms of the active listings, obviously Markham is going to have a lot of active listings. And same story for Vaughan, right? They're both very populous places. And yeah, average sold price to list price, again, it's close to 100%. So the list price is really important if you want. They asked me, I put this property on the market for over a month and I have no showings. What do I do? My answer is price, right? Price is king. Price is king in today's market. If you're seeing no showings, no phone calls, and definitely no offers, then it may signal that the price may have to be adjusted down. And because buyers are, able to of options in the market. And buyers want to see that the seller is motivated. They actually do want to sell. And as an agent, we have to do our homework. We have to do our due diligence, make sure that not only is the list price competitive for the area, but you have to make sure that the house is, staged well, staged properly. You have nice professional photos and virtual tours, right? And in this kind of market, you have to do everything you can as a professional agent to really market the property well. So I talked about staging, I talked about virtual tour and photos, even getting the right kind of signage outside the house is important. Our office has lots of open house and for sale sign templates. So making it as professional looking as possible really goes a long way to marketing the property. Um, and then I have some summaries here about, let's see, townhouses. Yeah, so townhouses are a very strong segment and continue to be within the TREB regions. So, the sale price ratio of 100% is the highest among all property types. So it shows that there's definitely a lot of demand for townhouses because people are probably moving out of their condos and moving into townhouses, right? Maybe younger generations like me, they may not be at the level where they can afford a detached home, but a townhouse is definitely within reach for a lot of people. The price range for townhouses is probably from maybe 1 million up to 1.5 million, depending on where you are in the GTA. And so that is very affordable for people. The mortgage payments is affordable. And so that's why it's a very strong segment within the market. And then here we have a summary of detached transactions. So uh, it is interesting, Toronto does lead in terms of the average price for detached. and obviously a lot of listings in Toronto, also a lot of listings in York Region. So, York Region covers Markham, Richmond Hill, Newmarket. So lots of activity within the market. The next one is townhouses. So I just talked about townhouses. That is still a very strong product type within the GTA. You can see here, York Region has the most number of townhouse sales out of the other regions. Um, and then I guess it's interesting here too to note, like in Toronto and Durham, the sold price to list price is over 100% for townhouses. So I think it's a combination of two things, right? In Toronto, there's obviously not as much townhouse product because if you're talking about downtown Toronto, you're definitely seeing more condos and less townhouses. And so the supply of towns is definitely going to be a bit lower in Toronto compared to other regions. In Durham region, I talked about, a lot of pre-con projects that have completed recently or in the process of completing. We sold a lot of townhouse projects, and so there's a lot of demand and there's good supply there, and so that's why you're seeing that over 100% for the sold price to list price. Condo market, we all know that the condo market is being challenged in recent time, especially within Toronto. You've probably seen in the news that hi, you've probably seen in the news that pre-con sales for condos has gone down significantly, right? I think this quarter, the total number of sales of pre-con condos was like in the hundreds, right? So not definitely not the levels we saw before. But still, there is a lot of activity in the GTA. Obviously, Toronto's leading. There's lots of condo towers within downtown Toronto, Midtown, Yonge and Finch, Yonge and Steeles areas. Yeah. Let's see what's next. So residential sales monthly statistics. This just shows you the average sales and average price from as early as 2012 until now. So year to date for 2025, we've seen close to 31,000 sales, and the average price is almost 1.1 million. Compare that to the previous couple of years. The average sales has definitely come down from before, right? You see here 2020 and 2021, average sales over 100,000 units. And so, but also interestingly, the average price has not gone down as much as some people would think, right? In 2022, it was 1.19. Then it went up to went down to 1.13 in 2023. Last year was 1.12, and this year 1.1. So it's definitely a steady decrease from the high in 2022, but there's definitely resilience in the market. I think the properties on the market, sellers are willing to wait. The sellers that can hold on a bit longer, they may be getting the price they can get, but we're not seeing a huge drop in the average sold price. There's lots of news out there about, the market downturn, but I think it's quite positive from what we're seeing in the data. The average selling price is relatively stable and is holding up to some of the, market and economic challenges. Rental market is also still pretty strong. The total number of rental transactions in Q1 of 2025 has actually gone up by almost 17% compared to Q1 of last year. And then we see here there's apartment condos versus townhouses. There's rented out. And I think that's reflected in not just in Toronto, but some of the other major cities. Lots of condo towers either leasing out or new condos that are coming online. I think this year we're seeing close to, I believe it's 20,000 or 30,000, 25,000 new home completions. So there's a lot of supply coming to the market. And renting is always a good opportunity for agents, right? If you don't have so many listings or buyer clients, rentals is a very good way to make commission, to make money. As soon as you get a bit of volume, it definitely is a good business to work on. Average rent. So average rent, I would say across the board has probably come down compared to Q1 of last year. So the average one bedroom rent it was 2343, which has come down 4% compared to 2440. And then similarly for two bedroom apartment now is around $3,000 versus 3138 in Q1 of last year. So I think on average, you're seeing rents coming down by about $100 a month. Some areas you might be seeing, 150 or $200 compared to what it was before. So again, if you have tenant clients, it's a very good opportunity because there's more opportunity to kind of negotiate on the rent. And then if you're representing a landlord, obviously you have to think competitively, and so consider maybe dropping the asking price by $50 or $100 even to get a good tenant and to get that lease signed. So we're gonna move on to Oakville, and then after Oakville is Waterloo. So just quickly here, so still sales have steadily declined from June 2024. However, the average price of detached homes in Oakville has continued to go up. So it's up 6.4% compared to June of last year and 1.8 higher than May 2025. So I think it still shows you that the market is very strong in Oakville. And so maybe not as much supply of detached homes compared to Toronto or York region. And so when you don't have so much supply, the demand is still going to be there. It just may be that in certain neighborhoods, in certain areas, a bit more room to negotiate for the sold price. In terms of towns, condos, and other property types, the total number of sales went down to 122 sold compared to um, last month, 147. And then the price has definitely, dropped that lower than before. So June 2025, the average price was 955,000 almost. Compared to June, it was 970,000. So a modest decrease month over month and year over year. Moving on to Waterloo. So I think we are seeing a similar story in Waterloo compared to Treb and Oakville. So the market fundamentals remain strong because there is quite a diversified economy in Waterloo. You have the universities, you have solid education, and you have a lot of large employment areas, large employers. So that's supporting the growth and the housing market there. There's some year-over-year price decreases. So you can see here, this is the benchmark price performance over time. And you see here the high was in around March 2022. So probably, end of 21 to early 2022 is kind of the peak of the average price. And that's kind of across property types. So you've got here single family detached, townhouse, apartment. And this covers Cambridge, Kitchener, and Waterloo areas. And then the trend has been fairly stable in the last 2 years. There's some seasonality here. Obviously, when you get to the spring market, there is a bit of seasonality in terms of the price going up. But the price has remained stable. We're not seeing the huge, highs and lows as before. And so I think it's showing that the market is remains strong, resilient, and possibly, positioned for a rebound, right? And I think that applies not only to Waterloo, but lots of areas within the GTA, Hamilton, Oakville. The story is kind of the same across the board. And here we just have some more details about the home price index benchmark pricing for Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge. So again, I think modest decreases month over month, and then year over year, certain products definitely challenge a bit more. So condo apartments and townhouses are having the largest year over year percentage decrease. Townhouse at 9% and apartments at 8%. Whereas for single family, which would be, detached and possibly semi-detached, the year over decrease is 5%. So I think it just signals that in those areas, the detached single family is more in demand versus the condo apartments and townhouses, which are smaller and possibly, less maybe less amenities, right? Versus a detached home. Um, that's kind of all I wanted to talk about for the market update. We've got one agent here in the meeting room with me, and then a couple of people online. Well, a lot of people now. So, does anyone have any questions they want to bring up first? Or my other plan was to kind of talk about some frequently asked questions or issues from our agents in the last couple of months. So I'll just start by kind of highlighting what I'm seeing from our agents and their questions. So I talked about before, lots of agents are asking, I have a listing either for rent or for sale, and I have no showings, right? I have no showings, no offers. What do I do? And, typically my response is, have you done everything you can to properly market the property? Have you done virtual tour? Have you done open houses? Have you done flyers, feature sheets? Do you have a sign on the property? Some, so, when you've done all of those things and you're still not getting showings, then I think it comes down to the price because today's buyers are very sophisticated. They have access to a lot of resources, digital tools they can use to see what's for sale in their area, what's sold in the market, right? They don't necessarily have to rely on a realtor to see some of the sold prices. So buyers that are educated, buyers have a lot of options to choose from. So, if you're helping a client sell their home, you really do have to give them a realistic expectation of what the price can possibly sell for. So I think price reduction, you do have to consider it and talk about it with your clients. You definitely do have to do open houses. Some agents may have not have done an open house before, but we're always here to help. We have many agents willing to volunteer for open house as an open house helper. So definitely message us or message in the agent groups. We have, a lot of resources to help you and your listings. Another frequently asked topic is about residential leasing. So you may have a tenant client, looking to move out, or you may be representing a landlord who wants to sell their home. So there's a lot of issues you have to be careful of when dealing with landlords and tenants. Even this morning, I had a case from one of our agents. They received an offer for a property. The landlord was not willing to move forward. And so the other agent came back and said, why? Why are you not accepting my client's offer? Why? And, I think it always comes down to we have to be professional agents. We have to protect our clients. We have to protect ourselves. So in that kind of situation, the simplest way to respond is my client received your offer. I presented it to the landlord. The landlord reviewed all of the tenant's documents, income, and credit. And unfortunately, the landlord is not satisfied and not willing to proceed. Period. Right? That's all you have to say to the other agent. Where you may get in trouble is if you keep talking and kind of say too many things that you don't have to say. Because end of the day, for leases, it's up to the landlord to decide, are they willing to accept this tenant based on their income and credit documentation and based on their profile. That's all you have to convey to the other side is yes or no. Does the landlord want to proceed or not? I volunteer with both Treb and Rico on the arbitration panels. So I've seen some cases recently dealing with leases and buying and selling commissions. Um, so I'll touch on maybe the BRA and especially after Treza, what you have to do as an agent. So hopefully everyone knows what Treza is. If you don't know what Treza, you've never heard of Treza, it's time to go to Google and Google Treza. Okay, you need to know what are the new obligations as an agent under Treza, which is the Trust and Real Estate Act 2020. Couple of major things I would say is that the new change under the new change, we only have either clients or we have self-represented party, also called SRP. So before we had clients or customers, right? Previously, if you didn't want to be represented as a client, then you could be a customer. So for a customer, an agent does not owe the same duties as they owe a client. For a client, you have to be a fiduciary, right? You have to fulfill your fiduciary duties. Now, there's no customer definition. There's only client and SRP. So what is an SRP? A self-represented party, the name itself is a clue. So it means as an agent, you cannot provide any kind of advice or guidance to an SRP. That means they have to prepare their own offers. They have to make their own decisions, right? You as an agent are not going to do anything or explain anything that could be relied on by the SRP. So immediately, lots of agents say, well, I'm doing an open house and somebody walks in and, let's say they're interested in putting an offer, right? And so what do I do? I think the biggest takeaway from this portion of Treza is that it actually makes your role as an agent easier in terms of signing up somebody as your client. So, before you had to explain to someone a client and a customer. And for most people, those two terms are interchangeable, right? They mean the same thing. Now it's easier to explain to them, look, under the new real estate regulations, you have to be my client. We have to sign a listing agreement or we have to sign a buyer representation agreement. If you're not comfortable doing that, then I cannot represent you as a client and you have to be a self-represented party. And so then you explain to them what it means for them to be an SRP. They have to probably hire a lawyer to prepare the paperwork because you cannot even help them prepare the paperwork, right? If you advise them of what clauses to include in an offer, that counts as providing advice or guidance, and so they're no longer an SRP. They've kind of become your client. So you do have to be careful when you talk to prospective individuals. But again, I think it makes it easier to explain why they should be your client because end of the day, we are professional agents, we're licensed, we are trained, and we do this for a living. So our role is to help our clients and protect our clients when we are negotiating an offer or putting a property for sale or for lease, right? All of those things are captured by the word client. So it goes back to the importance of explaining everything to your client. And the other thing is before we had the working with a realtor form. So some of you may know what that is, some of you may not if you're newer to the industry. But we no longer have the working with a realtor form. Now it's called the RECO info guide. So there's a RECO info guide for clients and there's a RECO info guide for SRPs. And then if you're doing a commercial deal, there's a separate RICO info guide for commercial deals. So anytime you do a deal, the RICO info guide should be the first thing you give to your client, and make sure you get them to initial and sign it, because that is going to be part of the required documentation for you when you submit a transaction. You can read the info guide there. There's a short version, there's a long version. It's very simple. It basically explains to the client, what does it mean to be a client, what kind of services or duties as an agent they will receive. And then for the SRP, it explains to them what does it means to be an SRP, what an agent can and cannot provide to them. So definitely, look at the info guide. We have it included in our web form templates and also the SkySlope templates. Hopefully you've all seen the info guide. If you have no idea what I'm saying, again, go to Google the RICO info guide, right? Google now has a very helpful AI feature. You Google anything, it will first give you an explanation of your search, and then we go from there. Anyone have questions so far? Do you have a question? No? Okay. Feel free to unmute. This is meant to be interactive. What else can we talk about?
Well, people are maybe busy with their own things. I want to mention a couple of things like from the past months until now. First of all, Scott mentions SRP. I want to re-emphasize that SRP, the importance of SRP, by way of introducing TRESA on December 2nd of 2022. RICO and the government is basically asking all the agents try not double-ending a deal, try not using multiple representation, which could give ourselves a little trouble and hassle and with conflict of interest. So our brokerage is designated salesperson brokerage. So every agent, every salesperson, every broker in our office is a designated agent for his own seller or buyer, landlord or tenant. We are not brokerage representation. So be familiar with SRP form. I will ask our managers to put the SRP form in every our offer form template and listing template. So that way, whenever you prepare a document, you'll probably go to the web form of SkySlope, and then you are surprised to say, how come there's so many forms? Lots of forms I don't need. Yes, you can just pick and choose whatever you need, what is important related with this transaction, but I want to put these forms there for your convenience. Second issue is Sammy have gone through this part of Q&A or techniques that used to be called tips and tricks of Toronto Mills. Back in March 25, if you missed it, and then you can go back to the website and find the agent portal and watch that video on March 25th of 2025. That I want to mention one thing, and it is important, is whenever you put the offer, whenever you drop the listing, and there was always an argument of the size of the property, a condo unit, a townhome, a detached home. Lots of agents trying to exaggerate the size of the property according to the seller or according to his good intention to sell the property faster with the price, we or who or you or someone trying to put the size bigger, like, basically you have a 9.5 foot, you want to put the 10.5 size, which is wrong. And then the best way for you to find out the size of the property is, Scott, if you can log into MLs from your computer, I want you to go to login MLs and then go to Realm, try to edit a listing, and to show us how to add and edit a listing. Every time when you prepare a listing, every time when you prepare an offer, I want you to go through this practice. The practice is you put in the address, you're going to put in an offer. Pretend you're going to list this property to MLs. Pretend you're going to list the property for sale, or I think the for sale maybe is better. You just need to go through the first two slides. The first one, you punch in the address, and can you share your desktop? And punch in the the address, and then the next page, the PropText software will download the unpacked data from unpack or property line, and then you will see the size of the property. And then after you got the information, you can delete this draft. So that way you will get the information of the property size and year of built. The reason for this is there's many arguments, there's many RICO cases, agent being penalized, even court cases that agent put the property 3,000 to 3,500 size square foot, or condo they put 780 square foot. So this is a page I'm asking for that let's see, could anyone, let's go to Brook Bay, find a property, whoever is leasing agent. Let me see, let me find a property. Maybe you put a house, maybe you find a house, something like lots of condos. Yeah, you can try this York Mills one. That is a detached house. I think that is easier. Yeah, 212 York Mills. So when you use this address to the M2L, 1L1, that's the postcode. So then use that the postcode. M2L. No, you have to use the address, I think. I think you put the address is enough. It will come out. You go back to the, yeah, you go, just click go. Yeah, you put the name, whatever the name. Leave the blank here, just go. No, I think it's just a click, go to the next step. No, this is different. 1338, this is a condo. But anyways, so this is a condominium unit. You can see that they're going to come out with the information of the property, the year of this condo built, and is 1974. But unfortunately, it does not show up this square footage because it's a condo, or they have this 970 square foot. So the reason I want to use this example is that for you to find information before you submitting offer. Okay, this is the information you can roughly get the information from what do you call like year of the condo or house built and the size of the property. Use this method, you do not need to, to argument. Then sometimes the people say, I want to know the size of the property. I need to go to my property.c unpack. I need to pay $5. You never need to pay $5. This is a free service anyways. It's included in the membership package, okay? So learn this way, always try to add the new listing of the property you're going to put the offer, and then that's the way I want the little technique I want to show you. The next topic is about leasing. We do a leasing residential lease, and then I'm going to ask the manager to put the Schedule A and lease the closing document to in every lease offer package template. I want to use that to close the transaction, and then I do not have you have any argument after closing. Deposit check, utility bill, key deposit, the tenant not happy, move out, then you're going to do a mutual lease, kind of like that. I want to use this form to give a tool for agent to have a proper closing process of lease transaction. That's the 3 points I want to mention: SRP, order find the size of the property, lease closing, and the Schedule A and information. Sammy and David, now it's your turn. Thank you.
Okay, so two things I want to mention. The first one for lease. So lots of the agents already know in the past long weekend, there's a huge of the property has been leased. So if you don't have a business trying to do lease, because the lease is a really hot market right now. So I just roughly to do the search. Every time when I do the training, the computer is really slow. So if I don't do the training, the computer is running very fast. So you can see from the list and from downtown CO1, and just a few days, last 5 days, there's over 200 property has been leased. So it's a huge market. And roughly I check our office, we have a listing, almost 12 listing in the last 5 days has been listed. And also where the tenant's agent, we have almost like 8 property has been listed by our brokerage. So the first one I wanted to mention is the lease is very hot right now. If you don't have any business trying to do lease. So the second one I wanted to mention is for listing. Because recently we get a lot of the agent to ask for listing. Even they have a seller want to sell the property. Even we have an agent to sell their own property. So the listing for lease, the process, so you can check our office, we have a video. You can easily, easy to guide you how to prepare the listing. And I have one more. Tony already mentioned is for the SRP. So we have a lot of the agent, his listing agent, open house. There's a buyer come in, they said, I don't have an agent. I want to buy directly from you. So I want to represent myself. So which form we should to use? And if you go to web form, so the first form is called a self-represent party. I think Tony asked me to prepare the package. But anyway, the first one is the RICO information disclosure self-represent party, the first form. The second form, 602, we need to use is disclosure. That means deposit will deposit to our brokerage. Let's open the form 602. We get a lot of the agent confused 602 and another disclosure 160 or 161. So that is the disclosure. So who you represent, the brokerage provide a service for seller. That means the seller is not our client. Buyer is not our client. We only provide the service. So other than that form, we need another form. It's called a commission form. Before we have a customer service lease agreement, but right now we don't have that form. So the form is called 223. It's a commission agreement. So you have to make sure how much, if the seller is, this is a reverse way. If we're the buyer agent, we see the property post on the MLS, the listing agent or brokerage does not represent the seller. It's called mere post listing. So we have to ask a seller to send this form before we put the offer. Because the listing agent, they don't represent the seller, we have to negotiate with the seller. So that is one of the form for the commission agreement. Okay, so that's the 3 things I want to mention. So if you have any question, feel free to ask. Maybe I will pass it to David if David have anything want to say.
Hello, good morning, everyone. David here. Give me 2 minutes to say something about it. Recently, really, the market is slow. Everybody say slow, very slow. When we're in the office, every day the agent say, David, Sammy, we have listing, nobody showing, nobody, even no appointment booking. So really, the reality. The truth is, I can share with everyone, the market still there. Depends on how you handle it. So in this case, I always said to our agent, in slow market, if you're a new agent, if you don't know too much yet, it's a good time for you to attend for all training. So you need to sharpen yourself. You need to know more stuff about yourself. So the clients are already in there in the market, and also probably are still in the market as well. I can share you one story is I have a few of 20 years family friends. So their kids now growing up, they're going to buy a house. So last week, I got the 2 couples kids. So we successfully got the 1 property offer for bidding. So that means that property for bidding still in the market. I have attended 3-4 times last week, weekend, Saturday, Sunday. So one time I got 9 offers in a row for 1 property in Markham. The other one in Scarborough, 6 offers. So luckily we got 1 offer accepted 3 days ago in North Shore. So you see the market still there, people still bidding. It depends how you handle it. So if you are the listing agent, so Scott mentioned about already just now the market status, right? So if you are a listing agent, you have to know how to price the property for representing the seller. So in this way, you create the multiple offer situation for bidding. It depends on the area, right? So you have to do your homework. So for listing agent, I think you do the right thing. You have to know the market. If you're a buy agent, you have to know how to handle your clients. So the offer presentation, let's say the one I got, why I got the offer. So I communicate with the listing agent over 10 times for a day. So in this way, the listing agent will cooperate closely with you. So that's why you can be successful in bidding in the end, right? So that's why I say, if you are a new agent or no matter what, so you need to sharpen yourself, learn more experience. Also, you have clients in already. So the client will be, listen to you, or the client will depend on your experience, your knowledge. So if they trust you, if they're confident with you, you will get that job done. So that's, I suggest everyone get your time to do your training or to learn most stuff, or also do whatever you can do to, as what Scott already said, protect not only your client, but you need to protect yourself as well. So for anything like, in the future, whenever you have any question, send me, Scott, Tony, will be in office, always answer you. So that's what I can share with you at this time. Thank you. So because not too much time there. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to open to everyone. If you have any question, feel free to ask. We can help to answer. Any question? If you don't want to talk, you can put in the chat box. So we have another 3 to 5 minutes for the question and answer Q&A section. Okay, so I don't see any agent have a question, but we know we just show you in the downtown we have the CO1. Our office we have almost like a 10% of the market share in the past 5 days. So that means still the summer season is for the rental market. It's really hot, and we hope you can do some rental because the resale market is very slow right now. And yeah, that's it. So hope you can enjoy the day. If you have any question, feel free to ask. We can help. So if you don't have any question, we're going to end the training for now. Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon in office or wherever.